All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to be muting everybody that comes on, just so we don't have a lot of background. My name is Clint Thacker. I'm the Assistant Director for the Animal Service Center in Mesilla Valley. In my office with me, I have Jerry, our foster coordinator volunteer, and also we have her assistant or helper is Jessica. So we're going to answer the questions. We also have on the line Dr. Haddon, who's our medical director for the Animal Service Center Mesilla Valley. So if anybody has any questions medical wise, we can also go that route. She's here to address stuff. She is kind of up in the mountains. So if we hear or if we don't get her, that's why, but we can get an answer to you, not a problem. The meeting is being recorded, so we can share this with future prosperity. The first question that we have is for me, so I can answer it, is my question is, current fosters affiliated with the ASCMV be allowed to escort or to be escorted by staff into A, B, and R kennels to view dogs in an effort to help network to friends and family interested in fostering? So currently right now, I would say no, just because of the limited staff that we do have. And also with having the appointment set, I think it's best that if you see an animal as a foster or as a volunteer or foster, if you see an animal that you'd like to see, then just get an appointment scheduled and we'll be able to continue for you to see those. That is not a problem. The reason why I say no for the walkthroughs is it does take staff away from their responsibilities, especially while cleaning and feeding is happening for you to walk through. So that's my answer. I'm going to turn the time over to Jerry and Jessica to answer the questions that are left.
Okay, we're just going to start reading and answering. So we'll start. Can you please let fosters know if they choose to give out their number for front desk staff to put in the computer or their file to have potential adopters call fosters to get info on the fosters? They're wanting to see before going to social to make sure the fit is right. Otherwise, time is being wasted by both parties and other animals miss out on being seen. Let them know to make sure it's put in the system if they want potential adopters to call them. So it's my understanding that this is already happening, and I did confirm with Dr. Haddon. And the front desk is supposed to confirm with the foster if they want their information shared. And there's a little attribute tab in Shelter Love that actually says share contact. So if you don't think this is happening, or just as a safeguard, when the shelter calls you as a foster to let you know of the social, tell them again, hey, I want my information shared with the adopter because I want to communicate with them, if they want to communicate with you. All right, next. If a foster is foster, this is kind of yours, Clint, but go ahead. Number two.
This question is why can't the foster, if they foster for at least a month, why can't they have a flat fee of $25 to adopt unless they are having a special going on? Then everything should be the same deal. They do care for the animals on a daily basis. Why should they have to pay full price to adopt? I agree. And I think we've mentioned this before, that if a foster has first dibs and can pay whatever the special is at that time, I don't have any problem with that. And we can put that in the policy, foster policy that we're working on.
All right, next. Can fosters take animals to get groomed? Yes, provided the foster pays for it, and just let us know, the foster coordinators, when you're going to do that. Not a problem. Can fosters have a temporary foster care for their foster if they have to go away? And what is the protocol? Yes. In the new policies that we're setting up and that we will distribute soon, we've provided that you can do this so long as you give the foster coordinators 5 days advance notice of who the person is and all the contact information. And then also, depending upon the individual circumstances, we might ask for further information. But yes, you may. Can fosters get cat litter if none donated? And can they ask
if they're out, if donations are out?
Oh, fosters get cat litter if the donations are out?
Mhm.
And can they ask for pellets? I did put a post about this on Facebook not too long ago, but yes, if any cat litter has been donated, fosters are more than welcome to use that. And if there aren't any, yes, you may ask for pellets from the shelter. Can you put aside crates and supplies that are donated so fosters can use them if they need them? Yes. We were talking about that a little bit earlier, and we're going to try and establish an area to keep donated items that fosters can use. But yes, it's a good idea, and yes, we can do that. Can you make a list of common medical stuff for fosters to look for so they know when an animal should be seen? Okay, so what we're going to do is, those of you that have been long-term fosters, you might remember a program called Maddie's Pet. We're going to reinstitute that. It hasn't been going on for, I don't know, a year or two, but it's really a great program, and it'll ask you to download the app and sign in, and there's all kinds of articles and signs to look for, and it asks you questions about, oh, hey, you're new to this program, you're new to fostering, please keep an eye out for such and such and such and such. If you see such and such, let your foster coordinator know, call the shelter. And it is spot on to what you're asking in this question. And what Jessica has used it more, and she knows a lot more about the program if you want to amplify any of that.
So Maddie's Pet Assistant as a foster, the reason that I utilized it the most is it notifies you when vaccines are due, when their appointments are made. It basically sends you a reminder. You can set the reminders up as often as you want, and you can restrict them to as little as 2 reminders, but it does give you 2 reminders on Maddie's Pet Assistant. So for anybody who is, trouble keeping track of, especially people with litters of puppies or kittens, this program really helped me keep in line where everybody was at. And I can also upload photos. I can put in descriptions. I can literally put anything in there that I need to know and remember as a foster week by week. And if there is a problem going on, the Maddie's program actually does display the shelter's number that you need to call in the event of an actual emergency. And it should link you to, what it did for me is it should link you to central dispatch. So that's exactly why I utilized it the most when I was fostering the larger amount of puppies that I had.
And what it does is it interfaces with the center's software program, the Shelter Love program. So everything that gets put into Shelter Love that's applicable to your foster will then get propagated into your account. So, I mean, there, obviously human error does, does exist, and occasionally something might not have been updated, but that's as close as we can come to being on top of all of the vaccines and due dates for everything.
Sure.
I just want to point out really quick, we're fostering 2 kittens. And I was thinking, man, when are the vaccines due? The next day I got an email from Maddie's Fund saying, hey, your vaccines are due for the cats. So it was a great reminder.
Okay. Who do we call when we need food for fosters? I bet a lot of you already know this, but for the new people and those that haven't, if there are any of you who are not fosters, just call the front desk. Let them know that you're going to be coming in, you're a foster, and you need to pick up some food. What they're doing right now is giving a week's worth of food. That's kind of what was decided was the quantity. But yeah, just call the front desk. Can you let fosters know if their fosters are not fixed, they can call the spay-neuter coordinator? Yes. So we've had some back and forth on this as to who notifies who. There's a lot of overlapping in the coordinator positions. So sometimes the foster coordinators will do it. Sometimes the spay-neuter coordinator will do it. Sometimes the fosters will have to ask for it. Hopefully with Maddie's Pet, that'll take care of a lot of that. But what you do when you want to schedule a spay-neuter, you do call or email the spay-neuter coordinator. Her name is Holly. And then she puts you on a schedule. And what the turnaround is usually about 30 days. Within that 30 days from when you ask is when the shelter has the capacity to get that animal in for surgery. All right, this is a good one. How are you helping fosters network their fosters. Some can't.
sorry.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry, can I say something? I couldn't find my unmute
Sure.
button.
Dr. Hadley.
This is Dr. Haddon. That about getting an animal, a foster animal altered within 30 days of you asking. It's actually what we're trying to do is from the time the animal goes to foster, within 30 days, we're trying to make sure they're altered. Now, this is an attempt, but what we want is we don't want fosters to expect to pull an animal and next week have them altered. Okay. We're working on getting more surgeons right now. I'm doing surgery 3 days a week, which leaves me with no time doing other things. So be patient with us. We're hoping within 30 days of the foster being pulled, we will be able to provide that service. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad. Okay, next one. How are you helping fosters network their fosters? Some can't do adoption events. And when fosters network the animals, ask them to put the shelter phone number, kennel ID, darkness, or ID numbers on the post. So Jessica and I have been here for what, almost 5 months now. So we haven't gotten into actually helping, or at least I haven't, with promoting fosters for adoption. As far as I know, what happens is that fosters and our rescue / adoption coordinators will post animals on social media sites, and the offsite person who arranges all those things, Alaska, handles reaching out to fosters to bring their animals to offsite events. Jessica has been a foster a lot, and she still is a lot. So you might know a little bit better about that kind of thing.
So we do have here, and I don't know if anybody has ever utilized it, but we do have these really cool signs that go out in your front yard. It says, I'm a foster for the Animal Service Center. Ask me about my foster today. And there's also little walking, they look like little, not t-shirts, but little banners that the dogs wear as they walk that says, I'm up for adoption, ask me how. And these are all little things that I kind of utilized when I was fostering, and I still do have them in the front yard. But I also post often to any Facebook site, you know, any social media platform that I can utilize, that's where I would go. But I'm also pretty in contact with Alaska quite a bit. So I just messaged her the other day. I have 2 puppies that are finally ready for, you know, adoption, you know, the market and stuff like that. So we were finally getting a schedule together to where I could take them. So if you guys don't have Alaska in your contacts, I would give a call up to her and let her know that, you know, you're interested in getting them into a weekend event. There's the PetSmart events. I know that there's a few other events, and then also there's the farmers market. And I would go to all of those. So as often as you can, if you guys can't, and there is an opportunity where Jerry or I could take one of them to the event for you, I'm more than happy to work that out with you guys. I do want to try and get them out to these events as much as possible. So if that is something that is just not physically capable for you, please reach out and let us know so that we can work with you more on a one-on-one basis. But otherwise, it's really being proactive. I really have to get them out there. So, and that's just a part of that process.
Alaska can be reached if you just call the front desk.
Yeah.
They will hook you up with her info. And if anybody has also suggestions that you'd like us to consider on this kind of thing, please email us. We would love to hear about it.
Another thing you can always do is when fosters are in your home and you see how they react or what they like to do, something quirky maybe, you can always just shoot an email over to our foster coordinators and they can put it on the file. And then it will go online. People can see, you know, on the profile. And one question we get all the time is it good with cats? And we don't test with cats. And so if you have cats in your area or cats in your house and they get along great, then you just need to let us know and we can put that on there.
The profile is what's shown to the public when they click on the photo at the ASCMV website.
Yep.
Can fosters call front staff to verify a social, to have the front staff call the potential adopter to make sure they will be there if they choose? This is, I'm not sure is the answer to this. We would have to talk to our front desk manager. And honestly, it depends a lot on time. You know, we kind of have to hold people to their word. And there are so many appointments made to just try and call somebody to confirm their appointment. I'm not sure if that's a doable thing or not. Probably the managers would have to discuss that.
Yeah, we'll discuss it at our next manager meeting.
Who lets fosters know when shots are due? Again, we are going to be turning to Maddie's pet for that. If you have any questions, if you're not sure, you haven't heard from Maddie's pet, just reach out to Jess or I, and we'll be happy to look that up for you. Can you give a list and post numbers fosters can call after hours if something happens with their foster? I did a post on this not too long ago as well, where I listed the animal control dispatch number. And that is the number that you would call after hours for a medical emergency for your foster. Any type of medical issue during business hours, you would call the shelter. So again, I can read you out that number, which is 575-528-4100. And they take down your information, and then they try and connect you with the on-call vet tech for an emergency. If a foster animal dies and you wish to bury the animal after, if a foster animal dies, if foster wishes, can they bury the animal after the shelter sees the animal, instead of letting the shelter throw away the animal? Yes, and we do that. I'm not sure of what kind of proof of death the shelter requires. That might be something Clint wants to weigh in on, or Dr. Haddon. But yes, you do have the option of burying on your property, so long as we are notified and have the proof of the death. So, okay. What is protocol if animal dies in foster? Okay, this is a question that's actually on your foster agreement, but what you have to do is let us know. And that's pretty much it. We just need communication from our fosters on everything that happens with our animals, and dying certainly is a big one. And it's nothing to be ashamed of or concerned about. Well, concerned, yes, but ashamed of, no. Unfortunately, a lot of animals get sick and they do pass away. If there was some extraordinary circumstance, we would need to know that as well. It's just to have an honest relationship with our fosters and vice versa, but that's who you would let know. You would let us know about it. Fosters are allowed to take their animals places they go, or have others come to their house on their own time. So if someone wants to come to our homes or meet us somewhere to see our fosters, is that okay? Right now, the ASCMV has a policy that all meetings must be here at the center. And I'm going to let Clint and/or Dr. Haddon explain why that one is.
Go ahead, Dr. Haddon.
Okay, maybe if I can figure this out. I'm lost here. What was the question again? I've been trying to go back. I've been trying to respond since. What do we do with when a foster animal passes? I'm not, yeah.
It's number 17 on the list that you saw this morning, and it's the question of can people have socials basically outside of the center?
Oh, we as managers have had that discussion, and in order to ensure that potential adopters get the full story, not that a foster wouldn't tell the full story, but sometimes they're not aware of certain aspects that are notated in shelter love. So we ask that the social be done at the center, so that our kennel staff can be involved in sharing the information that is in shelter love.
Okay.
Dr. H,
Yes.
real quick on that, I think that was one of my questions, but what I wanted to know is, we take our fosters everywhere, right? We can take them to
Yes.
Lowe's, we take them to dog parks, wherever. What I'm saying is, if someone contacts us on Facebook and wants to see that animal just prior, just to check it out, not say, yes, I know we have to go to the shelter for a social, for the social, but can they, I mean, it's really hard for you guys to know if someone's going to see our animal somewhere, but can they see it prior and then go make a social at the shelter? Say it's one of our friends or acquaintances, they want to see one of the fosters.
I think that's fine because there's no difference in that. Now, anyone else correct me if I'm wrong. There's no difference in that. And then you walking down the street and someone sees your dog and wants to meet it. You're not going to say,
Exactly.
no, you can't talk to him. You have to go to the center. So
Yes.
I think that's all right. I
Okay.
don't see a problem with that. But as long as the quote unquote social happens at the center. Yes.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to know. So basically we can just have them come to our house if we choose to, but they still have to make an appointment for the social. That way they can see the animal, go, oh, I for sure want to adopt this animal at the social.
I think
That's
that's okay.
Okay, perfect.
Clint, yeah, make sure Clint confirms,
Okay, thank
so, yeah.
I'm okay with that. Just there's a fine line, it sounds like, of what being said. If they just want to come and see the animal, that's okay. But if it's an actual, like, quote unquote interview or social for the adoption, then it needs to take place at the center. I want you to know that this was debated pretty hotly at our most recent managers meeting, whether to allow these, and ultimately it came out that we need to have these done here at the center, because just too many times something has happened and the adopter takes the foster home and then we never see the animal again without being sterilized. We've had cases where we haven't even got paperwork. We didn't know an adoption took place. So that was the deciding factor for me, is that there's a process this needs to go through. In order for that process to work, it needs to occur here at the center, the actual adoption social. So thank you.
perfect. Thanks, Clint.
All right, next is educate fosters on when they leave with animals from the shelter to have slip leads when they leave. If not, can you supply so we can give them when they leave with the dog? First of all, yeah, we do have slip leads, and Stars, you and I already discussed, I did buy a bunch of them and they're sitting in the cabinet by the front desk that has all of the little foster stuff in it. So yes, dogs are supposed to leave on leashes, obviously, and slip leads are always better because it's harder to get out of them because they tighten up. I personally prefer to double lead, but that's a Dr. Haddon's question, whether or not that is something that you have to do. But there are slip leads available for fosters when they pick up their dogs.
So the ASCMV in our last managers meeting, we made a policy change that all dogs must leave the ASCMV on a slip lead, not a collar. It's a slip lead. We just spent almost $500 on slip leads, and that because we've had too many animals getting loose, and then too many people getting bit trying to get a hold of those animals, and this just makes sense. So every dog leaves the facility with a slip lead, regardless if it's a return to owner, if it's a foster, if it's coming from our center, then it's leaving with a slip lead.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
Can that apply to the farmers market pups and the offsite pups?
Yeah, I don't see why not. We put a whole bunch of slip leads in the offsite stuff.
Oh, great, thank you.
All right, next is, excuse me, a list of suggestions is good, such as when they get home. Let the dogs out to pee, to mark outside so they know where to pee before you introduce them to the home. When taking puppies out, put a tarp or a board under crates or areas and have a designated area. So if Parvo happens, it's easier to clean and don't have to worry about. And you can throw out the boards or the tarps. You don't get Parvo all over the house. Low playing music works great for puppies or dogs with anxiety. Yeah, I think all of these suggestions are great. And I think also too, there'll be a lot of these kinds of suggestions on Maddie's assistant. And also Star or anybody else, if you want to do up a little list that you think would be appropriate and helpful, I'm happy to then go through that and put it again, post it on the website.
Just keep in mind, if you use something porous like wood, it cannot be sterilized. It's impossible.
For Parvo.
So you have to throw it away.
Yes, exactly. I was just getting ready to say that. Usually know after what, I don't know, Dr. H would know after a few days if they're going to have that Parvo or not. It's just, you can throw that board away and be done with it.
Thank you. All right, another suggestion, which is always good, is always feed doubles separately until you see how they act while they're eating. You don't want one to be taking the food from another. And when giving Foster's baths, did you have something?
May I?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It took me that long to get to the mute button. As far as Parvo goes, usually the incubation period is 2 weeks. So after you've had an animal for 2 weeks, then you're, like 85% certain that they're not going to break with Parvo. But it's 2 weeks, it's not a few days. And of course, it does depend on how long they've been at the shelter already, because that would be, that's part of it, unless they were exposed at the shelter, which we try really hard not to let happen. And we watch those very closely. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When giving Foster's baths, what do you prefer they use to bathe them? Baby shampoo is the answer. Unscented baby shampoo, if I may elaborate. Can they give them flea and tick meds? No, not without checking with the shelter first, with the medical staff first, I should say, because they may have already been treated previously. And even if fleas and ticks are visible, the timing efficacy of the application of the product needs to be taken into consideration. Dr. Haddon, do you need to amplify on that, or is that sufficient?
I don't know. I think it's sufficient. And I say baby shampoo because it's very mild, and it won't counteract or react with anything that they may have been given. If there are specific instances of skin issues or something like that, contact the medical staff and we can come up with maybe a more helpful shampoo. As far as the flea and ticks, even if we see it on its way out and we apply something, sometimes y'all will still see live fleas. That's why I say check with us first, because we can hurt these guys by double dosing them, whether it's a flea and tick shampoo or one of the topicals. So we just want to be really careful about that.
What does a double dose do, Doc?
Well, it depends on what the product is. If you've got an itty bitty that gets double dosed, there is a potential to kill it. Okay, there are
reactions up to death then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yes.
Just want everybody to know.
It's serious.
Okay.
And if you are applying flea prevention on a cat that you have gotten, please verify that it is for a feline and not for a dog. That is also a fatal mistake that is made.
All right, next one. Suggest that we get tags for fosters with their number on them and shelter number, with the telephone number and shelter number in case they get out. So it's my understanding, and Clint will correct me, that actually when the new shelter is finished, there's going to be a tag machine there. So this will be available. Last one.
I love that.
Hey, I'm just reading what they put.
Man.
Yes, Clint, that would be amazing, Clint. Yes.
You don't remember that?
The pressure's on now.
I do remember our staff working on that and saying that
Yep,
it was quite a delay.
Yes, Hannah was looking at it and y'all decided you wanted the big one. And I think we put a big one on hold because you didn't like the little one. So we put a big one, quote unquote, on hold because there was a long period to wait before it was ready.
Yeah, I do
And then it
remember
was,
that. We just need to confirm that it's,
I'll look into that this week. I'll ask Hannah if she remembers who placed that quote unquote hold order or whatever we call it. But we'll find
Yeah.
out. Yes.
if I remember right, it was like a 6 or 7 month or something like that hold
Yes. Yeah.
on doing it. So if we're gonna do it, the shelter or
Better-
the new center is supposed to open the end of September. So
Get her done. Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah. And also, like Star said, what was the auto place that
Foreman.
has a tag machine there?
Foreman Ford.
Yes.
And it
They-
is totally free. I've done it.
Yeah. So just, we can put that out there
Numbers,
in
right?
the meantime,
Oh.
until we
Yeah.
get ours.
That's got a good point. Is if you don't have your animal shelter number, just let us know and we're happy to look it up and give it to you. All right, give the hours. Fosters should be emailing or messaging us. And same for foster coordinators, emailing or messaging fosters. This one is kind of fluid in that generally, business hours we kind of try and keep with the shelter. In terms of you getting a response from us, you're welcome to email us 24 hours a day. Just be cognizant of the fact that we might not get back to you immediately. Frequently, you'll find Jessica and I getting back to you at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But, if we don't panic. And again, if it's an emergency, you shouldn't be emailing us anyway. You should be calling the animal control dispatch number. As far as when we contact you, that kind of falls in line with the same thing. We try and get a hold of you during business hours. If not, we frequently have people say, hey, I'm at work, can you call me after such and such time? Or yeah, and so we do try and accommodate schedules on that regard. So messaging through Facebook, I don't like it. I try not to use it. Email gives us a nice paper trail, and both Jessica and I use it. So we have access to what the other person is doing, and that is our preferred means of communication. There are a couple of people that don't use email at all. And in that case, we will entertain making that consideration for you for using Facebook. But generally speaking, email is the way to go. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Will there be a handbook or paper with information on fostering? We are in the process of finalizing written guidelines. That should be done fairly soon. And those will be out and available for view. I guess, well, I'll talk to Clint, but I guess we'll probably put them on the ASCMD website. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And also keep in mind that when you are signing your foster agreement, you are signing a contract that has provisions and conditions. So you should be keeping a copy of that if you're not sure about what is required of you as a foster. So there's going to be those two official documents that are available. Of course, we always, do consider individual circumstances, but those are the guidelines.
It's the last page that you initial. It's a bunch of initials is what you're looking for, is that page.
The conditions, the stipulations. And you can get a copy of the current foster agreement on the ASCMD.org website. It's under, if you go under volunteers and then you click on the button for fosters, and then you can pull up the foster agreement there. All right, what is required and expected of fosters? This is subjective, of course, but what we require at a minimum depends. Let's see, what did I write here? Okay, at a minimum are as directed in the foster agreement. It also greatly depends on the animal someone wishes to foster. In general, we expect someone to love animals and treat them with respect and kindness, be willing to learn about their foster animals and its needs, to keep in continual contact with us and the center, be proactive and observant about the animals they're fostering, abide by fostering and shelter procedures, looking to enrich the life of your foster animal. Previous experience we love, but it's not mandatory. We just need you to be willing to learn. And of course, there's always the 14-day quarantine that a lot of people don't realize when they first contact us, that a foster animal has to be segregated in isolation from other household pets. And that's to avoid transmission of any latent illnesses in either the foster animal or your own pet. There's a lot of things that we look for, which can't really be determined by the agreement, but that's why we really like to have an in-depth conversation with new fosters to discuss all the requirements, well, and what we're looking for that particular animal. Each animal has its own set of needs, whether it be just a healthy animal or a medical animal. And we get to then know you a little better and know your experiences. I'm going to ask Jess to chime in too, because she has a different perspective than I do, being from the medical side.
So what I had put on my response to that was that the main expectations and requirements are listed in that initial portion of the foster agreement. However, every fostering situation is absolutely different, and it comes with its own list of needs for that animal. I mean, we have different fosters who are, capable and set up of doing absolutely any type scenario. And then we have other people who really do need to keep it a certain size dog, no medical issues. Some can do medical issues. So there's a lot of times that we just want to call and have a conversation to make sure that not only you're comfortable, but that your fostering experience is successful. Because that is exactly what we don't want happening, is you to take a pet and it turn into something that is just not good for you, your house, your other people in your home, whatever's going on. We really want you guys to reach out and communicate. We do have a couple programs that are going right now. So if you are, fostering a bigger dog, please reach out and, see what's available to you. But a lot of this is, for your information for the future. There are attributes in shelter love that we can put. We are going to be adding a attribute. We talked with Dr. Haddon about this.
Sorry there.
It's there. It's a medical foster. And so basically, if you are comfortable with medically fostering a dog, and that can be a kind of a wide range. So we would still need to talk about what that medical condition is, but that way you don't have to get all the questions all the time. This is preparing people down the line to look into shelter love and know exactly what's going on with you in your home. And that can change. You can update us. I cleared out a bedroom. I'm completely ready for such and such. Then we'll definitely address it and go over it with Dr. H and Clint and make sure that everything's good to go. Communicating with us in the long end saves you less questions. So if you want less questions, repetitive questions anyways, I appreciate the phone calls that we have, because I learned so much about what you guys are capable of, whereas I don't know that in the just seeing your name in an application.
The more information we get from you, the easier it is for you and for us, of course. And the more we can know what's happening with that animal. We do want you to be proactive in observing the animal and informing us about what's going on.
Sure.
Clint or Trina, anybody want to add to that?
No, I think it's good.
Okay. Sorry, Dr. Haddon. All right, this is the last one. Who has access to foster application information? I'm not exactly sure what this question is asking, so I have two different ways of addressing it. But if the person that asked it means, who has access to the basic foster agreement, that anybody can have access to. Again, it's online at the ascmv.org.
You're talking about a blank application.
A blank
A blank
application, and that lists the criteria as well. If you're talking about who has access to current fosters applications with their information in it, only shelter employees, only people that use Shelter Love, because that's where the application is then downloaded and information goes into, has access to that. So it's not out in the public by any means.
So Jerry, can I
Yeah.
ask you that real quick? So does
Yeah,
that mean you,
sure.
does that mean you and Jessica have, I think whoever asked that's probably wondering if you two have access to all Foster's personal information?
Yes.
Of course, otherwise we don't know how to contact them or what they're,
Yeah, since we're setting up the fosters, we then have to know their information.
I think many were probably concerned. I know that for a fact because you guys obviously aren't employed there yet. But I think a lot of people freak out with their personal stuff. So I think that's probably what that question was.
We've signed an NDA, so a non-disclosure agreement like all other shelter employees, so that we are legally bound not to share that kind of information.
Okay.
And it's not anything unsensitive that isn't already out there. Name, address, and phone number. I mean, I could probably Google you and get more information than that. So.
You don't have to. You've already been at my place.
Well, that's what we're saying. It's not like it's sensitive information, the social security number, stuff like that. This is
Okay.
basic info that's on, it's just what's on that application.
That's what you put on there, yeah.
Okay.
I think that winds it up for all the questions.
You have one more.
No, that one, I'm sorry, I incorporated this last
Oh,
one,
okay.
whoever,
Number
Sylvia,
two.
I incorporated your number 4 into number 2.
All right. We did schedule this for an hour-long meeting, so we have a few minutes left. Are there any questions off the fly maybe we can address?
Clint, I have one real quick. I want to go back to that, Jerry, to the 5 days advance notice for fosters.
Sure.
Okay, what if it's an emergency, like a death in the family, they got to go, they can't give you 5 days notice. How do you want to handle
Then
that?
Just let us know, Star. We're happy-
Okay.
Yeah, we're happy to work with it.
Okay, perfect. And then what was the other one? Shoot, I forgot.
You're only allowed one.
okay. Oh, be quiet.
And then scratch the previous 24.
What's up, Star?
Okay, I think that's it for me. If I think about it, by the time you're done, I'll answer and ask the question.
Okay.
Okay.
While other people are thinking of any questions they have, I just want to give my sincerest thank you for this hard work. I mean, I know I've been a foster several times. So we've a lot of animals have come through my home. So I know it's one, hard to go through the steps of getting an animal. 2, to be able to nurture that animal and put up with the silliness that may go on, or even the hardships that go on. I've fostered animals that have been kittens that have ended up dying, and that hardship, and have to explain that to my kids. 3 is the continual hard work it takes to keep up with that information. The information going to the coordinators, the information, the vaccines, taking them to the appointments. And then after that's all said and done, and it's successful, the reason why you're doing this is to get the animal out of the center and get adopted, is you have to say goodbye. And that's a hard one too. So just thank you. Thank you so very much for all that you do. It's a lot of hard work. A lot of times it's thankless work. So I appreciate it.
Second that.
Okay, okay, Jerry, I do have the question now. I remember.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so you guys say you want to know everything about foster. So usually that's kind of hard because, Alaska does the foster adoption thing.
Right.
Now, if our animals go to rescue, okay,
Okay.
say we network them and they're going to rescue, is that Liz and Amy's job to tell you, or do the fosters have to tell you?
It's my understanding that Liz and Amy are supposed to tell us. However,
Okay,
because they're so busy, Star, I really appreciate the fact that you've been telling me lately, because sometimes
okay.
I hear from you faster.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so I just want to clarify that. So fosters will, Amy and Liz will know, but we will also just email you just to shoot you a text or whatever saying, yeah, just FYI, the fosters leaving rescue.
Right. And what just to back up a little bit on that, what happens when an animal is tagged for rescue and needs to go to a foster short term, Amy and Liz reach out to us and say, hey, can you please find a foster for this animal? Or hey, so-and-so has volunteered to foster. Can you please let us know if that's okay?
Okay.
So in that regard, we're involved that way.
Okay, and how about adoption? Say we go to an event, do you want to know that our animal was adopted, or will the shelter?
I
staff
always
tell you
want to know that, but you are under no obligation to tell us. So,
Okay, well, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
yeah, no, I mean, I like to know what happens to our animals, because we get invested in them too.
Okay, and come to that what you just said. Okay,
Yeah.
your website real quick. That used to be, it was made by Erica for fosters to share all their stories with foster animals and all that. And I understand Clint said you want to change that. But is there somewhere that, I mean, I post them all the time for fosters, but is there somewhere you guys have that fosters can say, hey, my animal got adopted, all the good stories? Because when you see those, it makes fosters, I think it helps when you see those good stories. So,
They can post
Why-
it on their own page.
okay, so what was the reason you guys stopped that? I'm just curious.
It was my call on that. I'm part of that group as well. And when I looked at that and seen what was actually being used for, it was not what I would like the site to be used for.
Mhm. So basically, you only want the site for you guys to say, oh, I need a foster, correct?
And policy information
That's it?
and announcements. And I mean, I think as Clint originally said too, occasionally we can put other stuff, but it's kind of going to be at the administrator's discretion.
It's an information site, so you can grab it from there and share on your own pages if you'd like to.
Okay.
I think that's it. Anybody
Yeah.
else?
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
Hi, Harriet.
Hi, this is Harriet.
Very-
So I'm very new to fostering. But I was wondering, like, back to having like the people able to come to your house first to see your foster dog. Can, like, I have one right now she's very, very she's not socialized at all. So like going to the shelter to do a social might not give the person wanting to adopt her like an idea of how she is. And it might actually traumatize her pretty badly, like having that little area and them putting their hands on her, stuff like that. So are we able to ask them, like, could you do the first meet at the foster's place and then do an actual social later, or we're not allowed to like dictate that to the potential adopter?
I think what we said before, like Star's thing, if it's just, hey, I saw you had this dog, can I see it type of thing, that's happen at your house is just fine, but the actual.
Casual.
Well, I guess my question is more like, yes, you give the potential adopters our phone numbers, but it's their choice to call us or not. And so I had one dog that the potential adopters didn't call me, and I had to go and bring it to this social. And I'm hoping it worked out for the dog's sake, but at the same time, it would have been nice for them to come and see just how skittish this animal was, and in person rather than, kind of do this odd meeting first. So are we able to like request that as the foster and as the person kind of taking care of the animal to say, hey, could we just have the potential adopter meet like an informal meeting first and then do the social if they're still interested, or are we not able to dictate that?
I'm going to just jump in for a second, and then Clint will follow up. And that, no, we can't, tell the potential adopter to contact you. It really is up to them. We can suggest it, and hopefully people that are interested in the well-being of the animal would want to, because they would be able to find out more information from the foster about that dog. But we really can't make them do that. So, Clint.
But that was my thought too, is we can't, if somebody says they or doesn't want to, then we can't make them.
I know Harriet, with you, I mean, you're great at giving me input as to the characteristics of Jan and formerly Rizzo. And all of that stuff that you've told me, I put in the computer. So when there's a social, it does get recognized that that information is in there by the employee that is directing that social.
Yeah, see, that's similar, Jerry, to you guys wanting to know, as much as you can about the fosters, correct? You want to know
Right.
everything about the fosters.
Yeah, the
So,
more, yeah.
so basically it's the same as fosters wanting these adopters, potential adopters, to know everything about our fosters, because that's important. And for them to not want to call is kind of odd. Usually most people do call back the foster to ask more questions about the animal, because we don't want them returned to the shelter.
No.
It needs to be the right fit. So it
Again,
kind of goes both ways.
yeah, I mean, that, again, that's the ideal circumstances, is to have
Yes.
everybody in touch with one another, but we cannot force it.
Yeah.
So, Star?
Can I say something as far as you're talking about skittish dogs and introducing them to people? Just be really careful. I have issues with behavior dogs in foster to begin with. It's one of the reasons we have the socials part of it at the center, is so that those interactions can be more controlled. Just know that if something happens, the rules may change. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. H, on that, can I
Yeah.
ask you something? Okay, you know how we take some of these animals, like are shy dogs, timid. It's not necessarily they're going to bite you, but they're just really not
Right,
adoptable at the moment. Okay, when fosters take them, we are allowed to call the foster coordinator, Jerry, and let her know that, hey, this animal, I know Ashley used to call us and do that, a status on them. It's not really available right now. It really needs time to adjust in the home setting before it can be adopted. Is that okay?
Well, we are not letting the fosters make that call. That has to come from center staff.
Okay, so who do
Okay.
fosters contact to let you guys know, hey, I got this shy dog like Jan, super shy. It probably needs 2 weeks and 3 weeks in foster before it should really go to socials. We used to do that. So I don't know if you guys changed it, but that's really important, especially, you don't want to get a shy dog there and it being hiding in the corner. And these people are like, God, it won't even come to me.
Right.
It just stresses the animals out.
And I would say Paul and Curtis, as far as, correct me if I'm wrong, Clint, because they're more of the kennel and they know the behavior of the animals when they go to foster as well. Unless we get to a point where, I don't know, I just don't want to put more on the foster coordinators either.
If I may make a comment, I know that with Harriet's situation, she's been very open about where the status of the dogs and whatnot. And when I receive reports from her, I'll put it in Shelter Love. And I believe I've also CC'd the managers on that as well. So then you can decide how you want to handle that for dispensing of information.
Right. And that's fine, because that brings the managers and the folks that are more familiar with the animals in on the thing. I just hesitate, especially if we have these animals for a month or so and they go out to a foster and a foster is telling us they're not available for adoption. I have issues with that.
But
even
when
if
they
it
come
may
out
be
of
the
the shelter,
truth.
yeah, but when they come out of the shelter, sometimes it's needed to really get them a couple weeks into foster.
Yes, I understand that, but it's not the foster's call to make.
Okay,
That's why if you tell the foster coordinator, then she can CC everybody when she puts these memos in.
So I have that as a topic of discussion for the next managers meeting, and then we'll get back to Jerry with the decision or the question that we have. And the question being is, can the foster make a recommendation to make their foster unavailable?
For 2 weeks or whatever.
Well, yeah, whatever. So I think it does have merit, because nobody knows the animal better than the foster. So it's
exactly.
Recommendation, yes. That's where I'm trying to make the differentiation. They can recommend and we can take it into consideration in, wherever that animal is in its mind. I agree. The foster knows the animal, but fosters also are not behavior people. Not that I am either. Okay.
Well, nobody's licensed, I don't think, but, and also,
Yeah, no,
Dr.
and
H, if they're sick, they'll be unavailable also, correct? If they're like on upper respiratory medicine for 2 weeks or whatever. Do we
typically, yes.
also, same thing?
I'd have to actually check with the medical staff. I think,
Yeah, they usually are.
I don't know if do we actually make them unavailable when they're on?
It depends on
Because,
it depends on what's wrong.
Yeah, sometimes
think
it's
you-
available medical.
I think you do, Dr. H, because a guy, I posted a dog that you had in the shelter. It was on the adoptable page. He come to adopt it and they said, oh, it's got snivels, it's got upper respiratory, you can't adopt it. So we basically had to ask a foster to take that dog. It was unadoptable for 2 weeks. Just recently.
and it does depend on where the dog is housed. If it's a dog, if it's a cat, what it's got going, how many times it's been treated. So it's not
Okay.
just across the board. If they're on Doxy, they're not available. That's what I'm saying.
The front desk would not let him adopt it.
And that's probably based on what the medical staff says. We are getting away from this foster to adopt thing because we lost too many animals. I still got one cat out there that we can't get back in shelter to fix. And so the reason we make them unavailable, if we do, is because we can't do the surgery so that the adoption can be finalized
Yeah, okay, I get
until
that.
they're healthy. So
Yeah, I
that's,
get that.
there's a lot in there, not just if they're on meds or not available.
Okay, so
it's- yeah.
again, the foster would email Jerry to email Paul, is that correct?
Star, just hold off on it. We'll
Just-
discuss it on
no.
Tuesday.
Okay, got it.
All right, it is 2 minutes past 3 o'clock. Is there any other pressing questions anybody has before we depart?
No
No.
questions, but hello, I'm here.
Big bye, Lisa.
Hi, Clint. Hi, Jerry.
All right, you guys, thank you all so much.
Thank you,
Have a great day.
guys.
Bye.
Really
See you later.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.